As I make this video, iOS 27 has been shown by Apple and is coming soon to all compatible iPhones in just a couple of months' time. It's an interesting update this year because Apple has focused on fixes and improvements rather than brand new features. That said, even while we wait for the latest version of iOS, there are tips, fixes, and settings that we can enable right now that solve some of the most common frustrations with the iPhone. And in this video, I'm going to share 10 of them with you. Okay, let's get into it. I'm sure you already know that you can change accessibility settings on your iPhone, things like bold text, larger text, or anything else that you might need to make your iPhone easier to use. But what if you want accessibility settings to apply only to certain apps rather than taking an all or nothing approach? You might not realize that there is a setting that you can enable to allow you to do just this. Head into Settings, then choose Accessibility. Scroll to the bottom and tap into where it says Per App Settings. Tap on Add App and then choose an app from your list of apps that you would like to change the accessibility settings for. Tap on it to add it, then tap into it again. You can now change any of the accessibility settings for this particular app. Things like making text larger, reducing transparency, increasing contrast, and a range of other settings that you can choose from. When you're happy with your changes, press the back button to go back, and then simply tap into the app in question to see your changes. But most importantly, the changes that you've enabled will only apply to this particular app, not to your device as a whole. A complaint that I hear about all the time from viewers of my videos and readers of my daily swipe email is that people find Control Center confusing because, by default, items are added to your Control Center as small round circles. If you know what all of those icons mean, you might not find this to be an issue, but for most of us, it can get really confusing really quickly. Thankfully, there is a very easy fix for this. Long press anywhere in Control Center to enter Control Center edit mode. Then simply grab one of the little drag bars at the bottom of each of the app tiles, drag down slightly and over to the right to turn the tile from a single icon into a 1x2 tile, complete with the name of what that control represents. Do this for as many of the controls as you like. And by the way, if you find tips like this useful, you'll love the Daily Swipe. It's a free email that I send out every day with a tip just like this that takes a minute to read and even less time to implement. If you're interested in signing up for free and joining the more than 30,000 people who already get a daily email, scan the QR code that you can see on screen or click the link in the description of this video. Apple redesigned the Mail app a couple of years back, but something I hear people complaining about all the time is that the redesign has led to them missing important emails. I think this is down to the fact that a lot of people don't really know how to use the redesigned Mail app effectively. So let me show you a couple of quick fixes. First of all, the redesign means that instead of having a standard inbox, you now have an inbox that's broken down into 4 tabs: Primary, Transactions, Updates, and Promotions. The idea is that your emails are automatically sorted and categorized into those categories. Now, in theory, anything important should sit in your primary inbox, but there is a chance that it's going to go into the wrong category. You can fix this for individual emails by swiping from right to left on an email, choosing More, and then choosing Categorize Sender. You can then change the category from automatically categorized into one of the other categories. So if something is going into your Updates folder, but it should be in your primary folder, you can change that here. Another option is to disable mail categories altogether. You do that by tapping the ellipsis in the upper right-hand corner and changing Categories to List View. When you do that, you get a more traditional inbox view sorted by the date that things were received, regardless of priority. And if you want the best of both worlds, you don't have to switch categories off completely. You can just manually toggle the feature on and off by scrolling all the way over to the right and choosing All Mail. All Mail is essentially a category that gives you your traditional list view back. So you could choose that for a moment, access the messages that you might need, and then jump back into primary, for example. It won't surprise you to know that I'm a big fan of the iPhone, but one area where it could definitely be better is taking audio notes. You hit record, capture your ideas, and then your audio files just kind of sit there. And let's be honest, are you really going to find the time to listen back to them all when all you want is a summary of what was said? This is the Plaud Note Pro, and it's a game changer when it comes to capturing audio. It's about the size of a credit card, snaps magnetically onto the back of your iPhone, and then it just listens. Whether you're on a phone call or in a room full of people, it automatically detects which situation you're in and records accordingly. up to 16 feet away with 4 microphones and proper noise cancellation. When you're done, the app gives you a full transcript, a structured summary, and action points automatically. And with Ask Plaud, you can query your recordings afterwards, find something from a meeting last week, pull out action points, whatever you need. I use it for brainstorming video ideas, thinking out loud, and letting the AI do the heavy lifting afterwards. And when I'm on a call with a brand, we can all talk, and everyone walks away knowing exactly what was discussed and what was agreed. As for the device itself, it's small, light, but feels super premium. It has a proper AMOLED display, supports 112 languages, and you get 300 free transcription minutes per month included. If you've ever finished a meeting and thought, I really should have written that down, the Plaud Note Pro is worth a serious look. I've put the link in the description, and there's a 30-day free return policy, so you can try it properly before you commit. Another common complaint that I hear is that people like using focus modes, but they find that they miss important calls from people when those focus modes are enabled. So let me show you how you can set things up so that this doesn't happen to you. Head into Settings, scroll down and choose Focus. Then tap into the focus mode that you'd like to change the settings for. In the Allow Notifications section, tap into People. You can see that for this particular focus mode, nobody is allowed to contact me while this focus mode is enabled. But there are a couple of settings that we can choose to make this more customizable. First of all, we can set it to allow calls from favorites, and then anybody that you've got in your favorites will be able to essentially override this focus mode. Or if you don't want to do this for everyone in your favorites, and perhaps only want to do this for a small group of people, you can tap on where it says Add, choose the contact from the list, press the blue tick in the upper right-hand corner, and now the people in this list will be able to override this focus mode and contact you. Another setting which I believe is enabled by default, and I would definitely recommend leaving on, is allow repeated calls. With this enabled, a second call from the same person within 3 minutes will not be silenced. So that way, if anyone in your contacts list needs to call you in an emergency, this would allow them to do just that. Apple recently changed the way that screenshots work on your iPhone. So now by default, when you take a screenshot, it appears as a full screen preview with sharing and editing options up at the top and the ability to use Apple Intelligence features down at the bottom. This new method of dealing with screenshots was brought in to go alongside Apple Intelligence, but many people find that it really slows down their workflow. If that's the case for you, it is worth knowing how to get the old method back. Head into Settings, scroll down and choose General, then tap into where it says Screen Capture. Disable full screen previews. Now when you take a screenshot, the preview appears in the bottom left corner, just like it always used to, meaning you can swipe it away and carry on taking more screenshots if you want to. But importantly, if you want to get to that full screen preview, you don't have to change the setting again. You can simply tap on the preview in the bottom left before it disappears, and you'll get access to all of your screenshot editing options. A complaint that I often hear from people is that they've accidentally given apps full access to their photo library when they see a prompt like the one that you can see on the screen here. People tap Allow Full Access, and that app is then given the ability to access all of their photos and videos moving forward. With that in mind, it is worth taking a moment to show you how to change this retrospectively. Head into Settings, scroll down and choose Privacy and Security. Then scroll down and tap into Photos. In here, you can see all of the apps that currently have some form of access to your photo library. So you can see in this example that Google has full access, while Chrome has limited access. If I tap into Google, I can then change this to either none, which will take away Google's ability to access my photos and videos at all, which is good from a privacy perspective, but not necessarily useful if I want to use the app, or the setting that I would generally suggest people use, which is limited access. Limited access is where you choose which photos and videos you want to share with the app, rather than giving it access to your entire library. Alternatively, you can leave it as full access. But like I say, I would generally recommend changing this to limited access. Something that people often complain about in the comments of my videos is that their iPhone is asking them to pay for more iCloud storage. Now, it's my belief that iCloud storage is actually pretty competitively priced and its usability outweighs its cost. But I can understand that not everyone feels the same way. And if you'd like to look for manual ways to reduce your iCloud storage usage, there are a couple of things that you can do. You'd start by heading into Settings, then tap on your name at the top of the screen, and tap into iCloud. The bit that you're interested in is the bar at the top that says storage. It's telling you how much storage you're currently using and how much storage you have available to you. This is iCloud storage, not device storage. Tap into this and you can then see a breakdown of how that storage is currently being used. If you notice a category in here, like photos, for example, that's excessively large and using up most of your storage, that will at least tell you where you need to focus your attention. But a common one that people don't often think to look at, and which can take up more storage space than you might think, is backups. If you tap into this, you can see all of the device backups associated with this particular account. You can see that my iPhone, the demo phone that I'm using here, has a 636 megabyte backup in the cloud, but there's also a 1.3 gigabyte backup for another one of my demo iPhones. I could tap into that, and if I wanted to, delete the backup to free up some space. An important thing to keep in mind before you do this is to look at the phone and the date before you make any hasty decisions here. For me, this is a legitimate backup that I wouldn't want to get rid of. But if this was maybe a year old, or for an older iPhone, I'd generally be pretty comfortable deleting that backup to free up some space. A complaint I hear from people all the time is that they've watched one of my tips related to collections in the Photos app and they can't find the relevant collection on their device. So for example, receipts. I talk about this one quite a lot, and then people go into their Photos app, they go into collections, they go into utilities, and they can't see receipts in there. This isn't actually a workaround or a tip. It's more of a misunderstanding of how this particular part of the app works. If I tap on collections in the bottom left corner of the Photos app, then tap into utilities, what you can see here are all of the different categories that my iPhone has been able to identify using its own onboard AI capabilities. It can identify that there are images that look like receipts, images that look like handwriting, images that contain QR codes, and it breaks them down into categories for me. Very simply, if your iPhone doesn't have one of these categories, it just means that your iPhone hasn't identified those particular types of images in your library. As a comparison, if I show you my demo iPhone here on the right, with my daily driver iPhone connected to my real user profile on the left, you can see that my real iPhone has identified 46 images containing illustrations, whereas my demo iPhone hasn't identified any. If I wanted illustrations to show on my demo iPhone, I'd simply need to take a photo of something with an illustration, and my iPhone would pretty quickly identify it and create the category for me in here. So very simply, if you find that receipts are missing from your device, take some photos of receipts. You should pretty soon see that category showing in your photo library. One of the oldest complaints that I hear from people about the iPhone is that when they change the volume using the volume buttons on the left side of the device, it changes not only the volume of their media, but also the volume of their ringtone and alerts. This means that if you make it too quiet, you might then miss a call later on, or if you make it too loud, notifications startle everyone around you. There's a really easy fix for this. If you head into Settings, scroll down and choose Sounds and Haptics, then ensure that Change with Buttons is disabled under the Ringtone and Alerts section. With this disabled, if you use the volume up and down buttons to change the volume, it will only change the volume of media that you're playing on your device. If you want to change the volume of your ringtones and alerts, you'd come into Settings here and use the slider to do this manually. Something that's really frustrating on the iPhone is when you're browsing a website and you download something to your device, only to then want to access that same file later on your Mac or your iPad and realize that you can't. That's because by default, downloads tend to go into your device storage on your iPhone, meaning they're stored locally, not in the cloud. There's a really easy fix for this. Head into Settings, scroll all the way to the bottom and choose Apps, then scroll down and choose Safari. Scroll down to the General section and tap into Downloads. If yours is currently set to On My iPhone, change this to iCloud Drive. You can choose other options here if you wish, but simply changing this to the Downloads folder within iCloud Drive means that anything you download on your iPhone will also be synced to iCloud. That means you can access those files later on your Mac, iPad, or any other connected device. So there you go. That was 10 things that really frustrate me about the iPhone, along with fixes for them. What about you? Is there anything that you think I should have included but didn't? Drop me a comment and let me know. And don't forget, if you'd like a tip in your inbox every single day for free, The daily swipe is available to sign up for via the QR code that you can see on screen or the link in the description of this video. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.